Good morning, Metaverse. I'm Thor with the Red Hand, and today I'm going to give a little bit of time to Core. Core is the new graphic novel that's going to be written and illustrated by a team led by Tim McBurnie. Now, this is going to go over a time period before we actually enter the game of Star Atlas. It's a time period called the Convergence Wars, before and during. Now, the Convergence Wars has already been depicted in the Rebirth posters, which were the first NFTs for Star Atlas. So people that were around at that time and are familiar with the posters know there's a lot of theory crafting based off of those images that we have. And so this is really going to be an interesting and fun time to see how Tim McBurnie is able to take this graphic novel and connect some of those pieces and really develop the basis for the Star Atlas lore, to develop that storyline. And the reason that I want to go over this today versus anything else is one, it's taken me so long to get another video out that most of the other content creators, so shout out to a couple of them, Metaverse Explorer, Metaverse Nomads, Lloyd from the club, been watching his stuff, good stuff. The Oni Times and the Hologram, Star Atlas TV. These other content creators have done a really good job covering the items that have been released at the last 4 to 6 event. That's the showroom, the fleet visualizer, the Polis DAO and Atlas Locker, the Polis DAO, or I should say the DAO Council, and the discussions we've had at the Atlas Brew. Some really good content there. And so one thing that hasn't been addressed as much from that 4 to 6 is core, and I think that's extremely important because the lore really develops that storyline that's underlying the video game that we're going to play, right? And for any game to be real immersive, I need to be interested in the story behind it. I would much prefer to play a video game than to read a book. Actually, one, I don't like reading, but two, I find being able to be a part of that story is a lot more immersive and exciting. And so that requires a good story to be developed, and a good story needs a solid foundation, a well thought through plot, story arcs that interconnect with each other. Those are things that I'm looking for and want to see to start coming out of core. And so today is not going to be so much about like reading the teaser strips and going through what was released, but about what I hope to see and some comments, criticisms about core and the material that we've gotten thus far. So let's dive right into the story of core. Now, right on the play.staratlas.com page, you go to the story tab, and these tabs, I really actually like them. Uh, Going from the showroom, fleet visualizer, the story tabs, the governance tab, it's all very smooth and looks really good. So I appreciate the development team working hard on that. So definitely thumbs up from me. And then you go to the story, you hit discover, and you'll go to the core newsletter sign up. And we see the three characters. This is Guyan, Mada, and Asya. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that or if my emphasis is on the wrong syllable again. I do that from time to time. But it says, before the Star Atlas, there was chaos and war. Follow a crew of everyday space explorers as they change the course of history. Some little samples here of the graphic novel. The universe has been hiding something, something big. Journey alongside over 18 episodes as they unlock new mysteries, meet strange characters, and uncover new races. Find out what is worth fighting for and what is worth dying for. Really upping the ante, and I like it. So you click onto that. I signed up for the newsletter. I haven't been blasted with a bunch of random emails. In fact, I have a criticism on the other side. I'd actually like to see a little bit more from the newsletter. Maybe some updates, concept art, maybe a survey here or there. some story arcs, some side stories to give the main storyline a little bit more context. I think that would be a great way to use that newsletter, sparingly, but little drip, little something to keep me interested. So before I go into the actual teaser strip that we got, I want to go over to Tim McBurnie's YouTube channel, and he's done a lot of YouTube videos on how to draw and teaching people how to draw, which I think is some good stuff. If you're interested in drawing, that's great. I thought it was really interesting to see some of his other work, the style, the art style that this graphic novel is going to take, the different degrees of finish that he's able to do. And I've really, some of the more finished work I really do like. So I'm excited to see what he's able to bring on a regular basis to the episodes of Core. And also, from Metaverse Explorer, he did an interview with Tim, and Tim did the drawings and the 3D rendering of the Tufa Feist. So he came up with that and created the Tufa Feist, which is a lot of people's favorite ship, and definitely on my top list of ships. It's a cool concept, and he also collaborated for the Tufa Spirit, the initial idea for that. So he's got some really good ideas and is able to bring them out and make them real. He's had a lot of experience in the video game and the graphic novel, comic book, drawing, and artistry. So I'm enjoying the things that he has done in the past, and looking forward to what that means for Core in the future. Now let's take a look at the sample that they gave you in the newsletter, and you see the color palette that they're using, and it's, I guess, a little bit darker, a little bit more muted than some comic books that I'm used to in the Marvel universe, for example. But I like it. I think it works well. One thing in criticism that I have for what I've seen so far is I hope that he's keeping in mind the consistency of the overarching details of these spaceships compared to what we're actually going to have in the in the actual game aspect of it. Um, and I know what he's doing is taking a really high detailed UE5 ship and then simplifying it into a comic version of it, and that's great. I think he does a good job of it. But this ship, I've never seen this ship or a ship like it. If it is in the Convergence Wars, it's before our time period, our current time period of the marketplace. So I don't expect to see this exact ship that I can go in and purchase. However, that wouldn't be a bad idea. Especially if it's a really good storyline, like for example, Star Wars. Everybody wants the Millennium Falcon because it is an iconic ship. Well, if this story is as good as it could be, then is this going to be an iconic ship? I don't know, but is this a progenitive ship of something else? Is it a Fimbule line? Is it Pierce? Back in Pierce's early days, I don't know. I don't really see a manufacturer type popping out at me. So I would be interested to know details and to keep those details in mind as the episodes are released. But we get here and we're in an asteroid field. We're looking for resources. This crew, who is made up of Gaian, the mud character, Mada, the Oni character, and Asya, the Ooster character, seem to be a very familiar crew, a very casually. They're familiar with each other. Their interactions. They seem to be a long time crew. They've been getting together for a long time, and so that's sort of the idea that we're getting. And they're playing cards. One's blaming them of cheating, et cetera, et cetera. But they seem to be like this type of group that is an all or nothing. Let's roll the dice and risk it. And so not exactly super orderly, as you can see in the ship. And I appreciate that. That kind of looks like my kitchen sometimes. So this type of character archetypes are pretty basic to start off with. And so you have Mata, who is really self-confident and cocky. You have Asya, who is analytical and seems to be more to the book. And then you have Guyan, who is a kind of laid-back captain, but seems to know what he's about. And so and the one that's actually getting the work done. And so those are archetypes that we can build off of, and I hope to get these characters to be more round characters as the episodes go through. But I also hope that they're unique, that this guy and character doesn't turn into just an insert Han Solo, right? Or any other of your um, scoundrel type captains, right? There's so many different stories that we're familiar with, from Star Wars to Star Trek, Babylon 5, Battlestar Galactica, Dark Matter, Firefly. There's so many different stories that we know, and there's the character that fits this kind of person. I would like to see some unique characters or character combinations that we're not as familiar with, but have them operate, in a logical manner, the way that you would think this would unfold. Finding a storyline that really follows that is important to me. And so I think this is a great start to a graphic novel, something that I would be interested. I'm interested to see what the full episode and the next episode is going to be, where this takes us, because at the very end they have their staking drones. The last one's coming in, obviously, because they're rolling the dice and they're taking chances. And the last one comes in, and you guys aren't going to believe this. This is really going to turn things around, and they turn the ship around and they take off. They go after it, and maybe in a little bit of a reckless way, which is going to make for more interesting storylines. Not how I would run my fleet, but I can live vicariously through that, and so uh, I'm I'm positive. I think positively about the way that this has been set up, and I like the artistry for it thus far. I'm gonna reserve my hypercriticism for it until we get a couple episodes into it and get a really good feel of where Tim is taking this. But it's interesting, and I think it's a really good start. If the storylines are thought through well, if the if it's complex enough and interconnected with some of the rebirth posters and the concepts that we're familiar with, and then consistent with the ships that are on the market now and how we lead there, keeping that in mind the whole time, because there's a lot of people in the community that will be focused on those details, and they will call out the mistakes that are made in the lore, and arguing what should be canon and what should not be. That's always a fun part of it, but this is a place where you could really develop something cool and make the community a lot deeper. Last thing I wanted to cover is actually how we're going to get the graphic novel and what form we can get that. What we learned from 4 to 6 and from some of the interviews that Tim has done, we will be able to get the graphic novel as an NFT on the Galactic Marketplace. All right, just in the play.staratlas.com. It will show up here, I imagine, as a collectible. Uh, the concept is that you'll be able to get some limited edition and exclusive front covers to the graphic novel as the episodes are released. And I believe they said it was on a monthly basis that they plan to release these episodes. And so this is where I had imagined we'd see them start popping up. And in the Star Atlas community, I'm sure that NFTs are seen much more favorably than, say, outside of the Star Atlas community. And so one thing that I did like, you're able to get it as an NFT, and there's going to be exclusive art for the front cover of each of the episodes. But you would also be able to read it for free on places like Webtoons and uh, Amazon Kindle, places that you can download comic books, and so you'd be able to read it for free. And I like that, the fact that they have basically the two possibilities there as a purchasable collectible and then a free to read, because we want that barrier to entry as low as possible so that anybody can get access to this story. More people that know and fall in love with the story, the more draw that we'll have to a larger group of people. And then, it's the story of Star Atlas. I don't think that should have any barriers to anybody. But if you want to have the collectible ability, and if you enjoyed collecting the posters and you enjoy having those and putting them on your wall, if you have a rainbow ohm and want to put something in your art gallery, I'm sure that those NFTs would be able to be presented in there. I think that would be really cool to have those episodes as they come out. I'm curious as to the price point that those NFTs will have. I would like to see them close to what a traditional comic book would be. Um, Maybe a little bit more if they're throwing in some other cool aspects to it. I know they uh, said Tim had mentioned something about, if you're paying close attention, you might be able to find some extra little Easter eggs, I imagine. And so there might be a little bit more to an NFT than just a comic book would have. But I would imagine, or I would like to see it in that kind of a price point. And if they do that, then I will most likely be picking up these episode NFTs and looking forward to that. I'm curious as to what other people think, so drop comments in the comment section below. If you're part of the Star Atlas community, and if you're not part of the Star Atlas community, how do you see that? The option, I think, is pretty cool. Um, Having both sides of that boat, and tie it to its roots as an NFT in as many ways as possible. Um, and when you start doing that, have some interconnections. The storyline is following these rebirth posters and this time period. It would be kind of cool to have parts of maybe these posters show up in the episodes, that we can, as a community, nerd out and seek out the common parts of the two realms of NFT. So hopefully that is something that a lot of other people are getting excited about, because I'm definitely cheesing right now. Looking forward to the release of Core. Oh, I hope to see that. Leave your comments in the description below what you'd like to see. I know Tim, in his interview with Metaverse Explorer, had been open to criticisms and comments, whether you liked it or not, things you want to see. They'd be open to see it, and I know Star As development teams always keep their ear open for what the community is thinking and feeling. And so, don't worry about liking or subscribing to the video. But if you find somebody that would find this useful and be interested in this, would like to talk about lore and is really big on the storyline of it, then share the video with them. And if you can do that, then today was a good day. Good morning, Metaverse.